Alright, Chief, so we're back. Of course, we're talking FF7, we're talking Rebirth. We got some pretty big info today. Square Enix dropped an article with Hamaguchi that gave us some pretty good details that people were saying on the feed that they accidentally dropped it. Like, maybe they dropped the article early, and then I think it was, like, taken down, and they put it back up, I guess, because it's already out there in the ether or whatever. And it's got some pretty big shit. Like, they confirmed Tiny Bronco, they talk about, like, characters from the compilation being in Rebirth and the remake project, and they talk about a new minigame that's in Rebirth, that it's a fucking card game, and I can't even stress how much that gets me excited. I will say a lot of the article is kind of repetitive. Like, it's how much of the FF7 story is in Rebirth. Oh, we're going up to the Forgotten Capital. That's kind of all I can say. Like, they've heard that before. They talk about, do you need to play Remake to play Rebirth? No, it's standalone, but it would be nice if you played Remake. Like, that type of shit. Like, there's a good chunk of this stuff that we just don't need to read. How has the materia system evolved from the previous game? Is there any new materia to look forward to? There are many more materia types than in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and these allow for exciting new combinations in battle. For example, there are materia that automate some of your actions in battle, like an AI, as well as other exciting new types. This is something we kind of discussed with yesterday's video, because they talked about the auto materia, and I want to kind of talk about that a little bit more here with this part of the video, wherever. My issue with auto materia is I don't know if that's something that we can use ourselves. So, like, let's presume there's an auto cure materia. If I switch over to Tifa with her auto cure materia, can I still manually cure with her? If I can, the auto materia is great. That's fantastic. But if it's only like an auto thing, if it only does it automatically for whatever the fucking metrics are for whenever it decides to do an auto cure, then that's a problem. Because it takes up a materia slot on my character that could just be a regular cure materia that I could switch to and then use it. The auto materia is auto fire, auto thunder, all that type of shit. If it's something that you can still manually use, then these are great additions. The world does look massive. How difficult was it to interpret the world map of the original Final Fantasy VII for this new game? This was one of the hardest challenges we faced when developing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There are a lot of games out there that let you explore in a limited area of a specific location, but we haven't seen all that many games that let you travel and explore a whole world. If that world is too massive, then it makes it hard for the game to work, but if it's too small, then you don't get the feeling of being in a massive world in the first place. We put a lot of thought and hard work into getting that balance right to fulfill both requirements. And look, at this point, my dudes, I'm a broken record. You already know that I love me some exploration in games, and this has given us everything we wanted. Like, we were so worried how they're going to do Part 2, right? How are they going to handle FF7 Remake Part 2? And they're giving us the world map. I mean, obviously, we're not getting everything, the saving Wutai and stuff for the third game, but the continents that are available in Rebirth, we're getting to, like, fully explore. And once we get, like, the unconfirmed vehicle as of yesterday, the Tiny Bronco, like, we can explore, like, the whole fucking game. They're all seamlessly connected in an open world. We can go from the Western continent, Northern continent, Eastern continent, just as much as we want. And that gets me so fucking jazzed up, dude. Ooh. But after this is where they're starting to roll into talking about vehicles, and the first one they talk about is the buggy, but they're just talking about, like, the design of it, and that reminded me to talk about something that I've yet to talk about in the videos, is that the buggy can drive through shallow water. They mentioned that in a previous article, and I just kept forgetting to put it in videos. But you can still cross, like, shallow water with the buggy. Maybe we do the similar thing where we go from the kind of Gold Sauce area to, like, Cosmo Canyon and Gungaga or whatever. Maybe the first thing, the buggy in the trailer, that wasn't even something that crossed my mind. And then when I was reading, like, whatever the article was where they mentioned it, I was like, oh, of course it's going to be like that. Because they're really going out of their way to try to make this like OGFF7, right? They're not cutting anything. We've seen they're going all out with, like, Cloud and the fucking dolphin. I don't know if we're, like, jumping on the dolphin and being launched into the sky like we did in the original FF7, but they still put Mr. Dolphin in this goddamn game, right? So to me, it feels like nothing's going to get cut. I feel like they're going to find a way to make just about everything from OGFF7 work in the remake project, which to me, since we're talking vehicles, I'm kind of expecting the submarine in the third game, right? Which means ocean exploration. What about the Tiny Bronco plane? Can we expect to see that too? Of course, the Tiny Bronco will appear too. Due to the events of the story, the time that it can actually fly is very short, but you can still use it after the wings have been damaged to cross the oceans freely, just like in the original game. And again, this is what I'm talking about right here. Like, the fact that they're finding a way to incorporate the Tiny Bronco into the game, just like the original, it's still going to get, like, damaged, and it's going to sit in the shallow. I don't know if it's going to be, it can go into deep water or not, but it's going to, at the very least, sit in, like, shallow water, and we can drive around on it, just like their OGFF7. Like, they're trying to find a way to make everything fit. And now that we know that, like, FF7 remake project is, like, I mean, it's pretty much open world, right, with what they're doing. Like, it makes perfect sense for the submarine to be incorporated at a later point. But yeah, confirmation, Tiny Bronco, not really a surprise. What's your personal favorite minigame? Out of all the different minigames available, the card game, Queen's Blood, could be said to be one of the headliners. It's an in-world card game that's very popular in the world of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and a minigame that can be played many times from the start of your adventure to the end. Winning matches doesn't just let you enhance your deck, you can also follow a unique Queen's Blood story as well. The narrative progresses as you engage more challenges in matches. And as it stands right now, this is my personal favorite reveal so far for Rebirth. I'm a massive trading card game fan, TCG fan, which you're seeing behind me right here. That white binder is on top of, like, 4 or 5 other binders full of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. These binders are full of, like, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball, a little bit of Final Fantasy as well. Like, I grew up in the 90s. I'm a 90s kid, bro. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering. I grew up on all that shit. And I'm a big defender of Tetramaster and Triple Triad. Stop it right there and give a shit that you don't like it. I don't give a fuck. I'm a massive defender of those. Those were so fun. As somebody who grew up playing TCG, man, having that in my Final Fantasy was so fucking good. They have a card game also in Final Fantasy XIV. I didn't fuck with it too much, but it was cool to have it. You have stuff like Gwent in Witcher 3, which I absolutely fucking loved that game. I don't like the mobile game. It's a little too much. Going from Gwent and Witcher 3 jumping into the mobile game, it's like just there's too much going on. But I love a good fucking card game and an RPG, and we have that shit, dude. We've talked about it before, but we never did a dedicated video about minigames for Rebirth, but I wanted to do that, and I wanted to talk about that shit. I'm a big fan of like Tetramaster, Triple Triad, and like stuff like Blitzball. I know Blitzball's not that good for a lot of people, and even coming back to it these days as an adult, it's not fun, but as a kid, I love that. I just love a good mini game that you can just sink a bunch of time into. And if we can just go around the world, all these different continents in FF7 Rebirth, and just duel people. Fuck, dude, that's so good. God damn it. The thing I hope, though, is that it's something like Final Fantasy VIII and 9, where, like, when you get into a town, like a new location or whatever, there's like 10 plus people to like play against, right? I don't want it to be like Fort Condor was in the Yuffie DLC, where there's just a handful of people to play against. And I get it, that was a DLC, that's fine. But like the fact that we're exploring the world and there's going to be all kinds of different towns and locations we visit, full of a lot of people, I just hope we can like walk up to people and be like, hey, can we play? That's something too. That's something I miss about like those older RPGs like 8, 9, and 10 with like, you know, the card game and Blitzball, being able to like go up to random people and hit square to like try to like either recruit them for Blitzball or play them in like the card game, right? And I hope it's something like that, where it's not just all tied to questing like it was with Fort Condor. Like I hope it's just random NPCs. You gotta like go and like you gotta find them. You gotta seek them out and everything. Like that shit is what I loved about the old card games too, man. Also, very curious how it plays, right? That's obviously what matters the most, because if it's like a shitty card game, it'd be miserable. But does it play anything like Triple Triad or Tetramaster, which are relatively similar? There's obviously differences between them. Or is it something else entirely? Is it completely, you know, from the ground up new card game they designed for Rebirth? I'm very curious, and I hope that that's something we get maybe this weekend, because people said that this article went out early, right? So it makes me think that this is maybe something that would have came out after like a trailer or after the showcase potentially tonight or whatever. Like, so maybe like tonight's showcase will show us this stuff or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I just hope they show off this card game, because I'm very, very curious how it plays. Serious, man, this got me so excited. Like, this is what motivated me to make this video, like, by itself. Like, I would have probably covered this anyway, just for the sake of covering it for news and info and stuff like that. But when I seen there's a card game in FF7 Rebirth, like, god damn it, dude, I can't believe it's happening. Like, we would have talked about this in a different video at some point. We'd have been like, you know, I would have put emphasis on the fact that I like the card games from 8 and 9, and it'd be cool if there was a way to put a card game into Rebirth. And I'll be goddamned if it didn't happen, dude. I can't believe it. It's so fucking cool. Can we expect to see new elements of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that are taken from the compilation of Final Fantasy VII? I cannot reveal full details yet, but yes, there are many characters and details added to Rebirth that weren't featured in the original Final Fantasy VII, but were seen in the compilation. So, Genesis confirmed, I suppose? I mean, this is a nothing answer. I see people sharing this, they're like excited, like Genesis and all that other stuff. Everybody's so excited about Genesis. It's crazy how much people hate Genesis, but can't stop talking about the boy. But obviously this is, I mean, they did this with the remake, right? There's a bunch of shit in remake, little info, teases and hints and stuff like that, and then we have like the Yuffie DLC that literally gives us deep ground Vice and Nero. Like we've already seen this. It's not really a surprise. It's just kind of curious of who and what it's going to be. Like what are the info and what are the characters? Give us this name. But I do fully expect Genesis, as I always say. Like, I think it's happening, and it's not even something as in like trying to do new shit with remake or whatever, the remake project. Like, Genesis is just alive, right? We know that. We know that he doesn't die in Crisis Core. He shows up in Dirge of Cerberus. He's in Deep Ground, I think, like maybe the whole time or something like that. I don't remember the full details, but regardless, Genesis is still there, present in the background somewhere. So I fully expect him to appear in the remake project. I just don't know what he's going to do exactly. Finally, what are you excited for fans' experience in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? This game has many tens of hours of side content spread around the game world outside of the main story. It's fine to ignore the main story if you want, or to go off and explore the world map to experience the side content whenever you like, at a suitable juncture in the narrative. Where to go and what to start from is entirely down to the player. I can't wait to see them enjoy the freedom of choice that the game gives them. I want to read that really quickly because they mentioned that you can backtrack and do whatever you want, all the side content and stuff, during a suitable juncture in the narrative. So that's something I've seen elsewhere, like after doing yesterday's video, where it's like you can't just backtrack and do whatever you want all the time. There's still going to be moments where they want you to kind of progress the story, probably in like serious moments or emotional moments, things like that, right? They're going to want you to like focus on the story, at least for that segment. And then once you're over with whatever that thing is, you can probably stop, pause, and go back and side quest and explore and all that stuff. But there is still many kind of forced story moments, and that's fine. As long as we can backtrack and have the freedom to do whatever we want, the majority of the game, perfectly fine. And last, I want to throw this in real quick from a different article that says, Rebirth is so big that Square is splitting it between 2 discs. Hamaguchi states that the game is 150 gigabytes with 100 on one disc and 50 on the other. However, you won't be swapping discs like fans did with the original. Due to the PS5 architecture, players will first install the entire game by inserting both discs. After that, only one of them will be needed to play the full game. So it's finally nice to have confirmation of this shit, of what exactly this is. I mean, it makes sense that it's like an install thing and then you're just playing with one disc. That's what it is. It's what it's been for a long time. You wouldn't realistically get to like the end of disc 1 and they're like, hey, pop in disc 2. It would have been cool if they could do that. Just kind of be nostalgic for the old original game. But obviously, yeah, it just makes sense. It's nice to have a confirmation of what the shit is. They were pushing the fucking 2-disc thing so much. It's just confusing. It's weird because they've had 2 discs and so many other games out there for a very long time. The games have had an install disc and a play disc for a long time now. And they don't go, it's 2 discs. They don't like push that shit. It's just like, it's weird. But yeah, so there you go. That's pretty much the video, my dudes. I don't know what the plans are for TGS. I kind of wanted to watch it to see the showcase because I'm not going to react to a whole showcase. If it's like a 30-40 minute thing, I'm not going to put up a reaction for that. It's just absurd. But I kind of don't want to watch it because there's potentially going to be a trailer. Like I think there's a lot of talk of that. I think Nomura, might have even said at one point that there was a trailer. So I want to react to a trailer, obviously, like tomorrow, if there's going to be one there tonight for the showcase. By the way, it's 9 p.m. PDT, so just obviously whatever your time zone is. For me, that's like 11 p.m. Should be midnight for East Coast. So yeah, I'm excited, dude. I definitely want to watch the showcase regardless. I want to see like the gameplay stuff. I want them to show me the motherfucking card game. God damn it! I want to know how to play it. I want to see it. I want to know how involved it is. I want to. That's all I care about anymore. I don't give a shit about the story anymore. I just want to play the card game. Not really, but still. This is the video, my dude. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Social networks in the description below. Follow me on Twitter @DavidYT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Low Gain or leave it like Cobain.